again.
Nagasaki, never again.
Nagasaki, never again.
Shut down all nukes.
All the nukes.
Shut down all nukes.
Shut down all the nukes.
Shut down all nukes.
Shut down all the nukes.
皆さんこんにちは。
こんにちは。こんにちは。
今日は第74回月例11日の政府抗議集会です。私たちは反原発そして反核を願ってここに毎月11日立っています。Thank you for joining today again for the 74th our No Nukes Action monthly rally. We are still standing here because the Japanese government doesn't take responsibility. The Fukushima victims are still suffering. Japanese government is hiding the truth, making this Fukushima meltdown lighter as possible. That's the reason we are here. And Japanese government is stepping towards militarism. Never give up the nuclear power plant to holding the nuclear technology and plutonium to make the nuclear weapon. Soon, one day. That's the reason the government never signed the ban treaty of nuclear weapons for the last year. So very freshly we know that big earthquake hitting Hokkaido. That is November 6 early dawn hours. 6.7 magnitude. And there is a Tomari nuclear power plant in Hokkaido. Very luckily, the Tomari plant was not operating that time. But there is fuel in the reserved water tank. Those have to be keep cooling. Outside electricity was shut. It's amazing that the entire Hokkaido was outage. Some place more than 48 hours blackout. And the Tomari nuclear power plant, they could change to the emergency diesel power, so they kept cooling. But think about if those nuclear reactors are operating at that time, I think the outcome is much different. Also, this Tomari nuclear power plant is one of 4 very dangerous and suspected fault in the site or under the reactor. The Tomari nuclear power plant, there is fault in the site and then possibility is an active fault. Japan is an earthquake country, and there are so many active faults, earthquake fault, and volcano, and also it's a corridor of the big typhoon. We are having typhoons all over. This situation, this country, these tiny islands, same size of the California, there were 54 reactors were moving last time before the Fukushima meltdown. Now it is 7 reactors restarted. Even after we got the lesson of the Fukushima, we learned so much. The nuclear power plants are so dangerous, so expensive, and so harmful for the human being. But right now it's 7 reactors. Sendai, Genkai, Takahama, and Oi. They are now operating. And then the typhoon and earthquake, who knows, anytime hit and then affect their operation. We really don't want to have Fukushima again. The major Japanese voice after the Fukushima meltdown, more than majority people wanted to decommission all the Japanese nuclear power plants. So it is clearly government is crushing our desire, crushing for the people's voices. And then even this year, towards July, early July, for the government announced the base load of the energy by 2030. I think 2030 or 2040. Sorry, 2040. The increase the percentage of the nuclear power energy to 22 to 20%. They don't learn, or they don't want to learn. They don't care the lives of Japanese citizens. Of course, they don't care the Japanese citizens because Fukushima victims, they are still suffering, right? Over 200 people for the children with thyroid cancer. Many of them operated, but still Japan didn't admit that has connection with Fukushima, meltdown, and this more than 200 kids thyroid cancer. What's wrong? What's wrong with them? They also cut the compensation for the voluntary evacuee. For the last year, March, they cut the compensation of the housing. The reconstruction minister said that they evacuate by themselves, so it's their responsibility to take care of themselves. Those evacuee people didn't want to move from there. Who pushed them? Yes, it is government and the TEPCO. Moved them, and after moved, they don't care. These people voluntarily evacuated themselves because they knew, even the government said it is safe. You can stay and live there because it is safe. You don't have to. But they knew that it is not safe. It is dangerous to live there, especially for the kids. And now government said so-called the decontamination. They are scraped the surface of the soil and putting in a plastic bag and piling up place because they don't know where to move them. Then they are inviting the people to come back so that they can cut the compensation. But those people come back is really people are senior, like me, because after getting old, little more not sustainable for the radiation effect. And then people want to die, right, in their own home. And then Winter Olympic is a really symbol of the Japanese lie. Even Tokyo is contaminated. It is not safe. But they want to tell the world that Japan is safe now. Fukushima is already behind. So they want the people forget about Fukushima.
Won't there be events in Fukushima?
Huh?
Won't there be events?
More?
Big events in Fukushima?
Some event, yes. Like a baseball event.
Baseball.
And even the village, athlete village in Fukushima somehow. And then, you know that always children are put ahead of the like a front line for the government's safety campaign, which is, look, Fukushima kids are eating Fukushima food at lunch, school lunch. Look, Fukushima kids are playing outside. Because outside is not dangerous anymore. We decontaminated and they are eating Fukushima food. So government is encouraging even people, kids, for school trip come from outside of the Fukushima prefecture to Fukushima. And even Tokyo, the children was pushed into the Tokyo Bay to swim. That was 3-4 years ago. And they are showing off that the Tokyo Bay is clean. Even the children can swim. We are not be fooled. We are not be fooled of the Japanese government for those hiding the truth. That's the reason we are still here. Anyway, Steve Zeltzer, would you like to maybe give a message?
Thank you, Chizu. So we're here again to protest the restarting of nuclear plants by the Japanese government. We're here to defend the children, the families of Fukushima, and to demand that they continue to be compensated to live outside of Fukushima. And you know, it's the insanity really of capitalism in this system that the government continues to say they want to build nuclear plants, they want to restart the nuclear plants, even after the typhoon which hit Japan, dangerous typhoon and earthquake in Hokkaido. They had a nuclear plant that was closed down, fortunately, in Hokkaido, but the power went out on that plant because of the earthquake. Imagine if it had been operating and the power had gone off. They say they had emergency generators, but they can run out. Japan is on an earthquake ring of fire. It's called the ring of fire in Japan, like California, but not. Japan has many more earthquakes, but it is actually criminally negligent to build nuclear plants when you have major earthquakes that continue in Japan. And it's criminally negligent for this government, the Abe government, to restart the plants. And they know that they're lying about the danger of nuclear radiation. They say that the plant has been decontaminated. How can a plant be decontaminated if they have not even removed the rods that have melted inside the plant? I mean, that is not decontamination. They still have these rods that have melted inside the plant. Is that decontamination? No, that's a lie. That's a lie. They are lying about the decontamination. In fact, they have thousands of tons of radioactive water with tritium in these tanks, and they want to release it in the Pacific Ocean. They want to pollute the Pacific Rim by releasing all this contaminated water.
Don't you think they are?
They are, because the water is continuing to leak into the Pacific Ocean. So this is a great danger to the people of Japan and the people of the world, nuclear power. Yet the government is oblivious to that. The Abe government is oblivious, and not only that, the Abe government is preparing for war. They want to increase the military budget. They don't have enough for the families to leave Fukushima. They want to take away their funds, but they do have money to increase the military budget. They do have money for militarization, and that they would like to get nuclear weapons in Japan. And the United States, unfortunately, with Obama and now Trump, is pushing for the militarization of Japan. In fact, they're selling them billions of dollars worth of military supplies. So this is a great danger to the people of the world. And the fact is, the government, because it does not want people to know about what is going on in Japan, is also repressing the people of Japan. Oh, can you move over a little bit?
Sorry.
The government is repressing the people of Japan. And we're going to have a statement from families who have been in Fukushima, who continue to be repressed, really, for speaking out about the dangers. There is a danger of thyroid cancers in Japan, of the children. The government is covering that up. The fact of the matter is, it takes years to really know when you're going to get radioactive poisoning and get cancer, but it's happening. The government was forced to admit that a nuclear plant cleanup worker got cancer. So a lot of the cancers are hidden in society, and unfortunately in Japan, people who get cancer are afraid to talk about it because they're afraid that they and their family will be discriminated against. So we have to speak out here in San Francisco on September the 11th against the continued effort to rearm. And also today, 9/11 is being commemorated. Now, most people in the United States, when they think about 9/11, they think about the attack on the towers in New York. But in 9/11 in 1973, there was another attack, and in Chile, to overthrow the Chilean government, the Allende government. And guess who was involved in that 9/11? It was the U.S. government that was involved in overthrowing the government of Chile and killing Allende. So there's a very duplicitous and double standard in this country, in the United States, about history, real history. It was the United States that dropped nuclear bomb on Japan, even though Japan was willing to negotiate and sign a concession agreement. But we wanted to use those nuclear bombs as a threat against Russia. We wanted to control Japan, which the United States does. Also, there's an ongoing struggle against the militarization in Okinawa. And despite the opposition of the people of Okinawa, the United States wants to militarize and build more bases in Okinawa. And this is in a small island where people are afraid that planes will come down, helicopters will come down and crash on schools, and they do, because the U.S. military plants are right next to schools, and there have been crashes and the harm to the people of Okinawa. What a nightmare to be in a small island with all these U.S. military bases, having to live every day with these jets and helicopters going by. So we are not here only to protest the rearming, the restarting of Japan's nuclear plants and to defense of Fukushima families and children. We're also here to say end all nuclear militarization, end all nuclear weapons, end all bases in Japan, in Okinawa, and around the world. We're against militarization, we're against war. The people of the world have a right to be free from war. And it means fighting this system and fighting the politicians who represent the companies that make money from war, who make money from nuclear power. That's really what's behind TEPCO. TEPCO is now controlled by the Japanese government, and they continue to cover up the dangers of the nuclear radioactivity. TEPCO also uses, under the auspices of the Japanese government, contract workers, subcontract workers. And these workers who are brought in to clean up the plants are not properly trained. They're not properly prepared for working in a cleanup of a nuclear plant. We believe that that's criminal. It's outrageous that workers are brought into the cleanup and not given proper training to protect them. Many of these workers will get cancer. Many of these workers will die because of the criminal negligence of the Japanese government, of the Abe government. They don't care about the workers who are cleaning up. They don't care about the families. And we say enough is enough. Stop the nuclear plants. No more Fukushimas. No more Fukushimas. No more Fukushimas. No more Fukushimas. Okay, thank you.
Let's see, for the every month, 11th of every month we stand here, and then we are asking the write the letter to the Prime Minister. This time, Jane Swanson, she's a president of San Luis Obispo Mothers for Peace. You know the San Luis Obispo Diablo Canyon is still operating by PG&E, they will going to shut down, but we really want to shut down right now. Okay, so I ask Yoko-san to read her letter. Thank you.
皆さんこんにちは。はい。では、It's a letter from Jane Swanson, President of San Luis Obispo, Mother for Peace, California, to Shinzo Abe, our Prime Minister. So here we go. A Prime Minister has an enormous amount of power and responsibility. Our grandmother on the opposite side of the globe has very little power, but just as much responsibility. I write specifically of responsibility to protect the planet and all its inhabitants from the horrors and destruction of nuclear energy in all its forms. The people of your country know better than any others the destructive and unjust consequences of nuclear weapons. Many of us in the United States acknowledge that the nuclear bombings of civilians in Hiroshima and Nagasaki 73 years ago was a crime of terrorism. I have visited the Peace Memorial in Hiroshima, where I was moved to tears by the heartfelt messages that no city must ever experience such utter destruction. To that end, I'm asking the federal government of the United States to belatedly support the United Nations Treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. I also ask that you do all in your powers as the leaders of the country subjected to these weapons to support this treaty. One way to stop the creation and proliferation of nuclear weapons is to shut down commercial nuclear reactors. The radioactive waters created by the nuclear industry can be reprocessed to supply the fuel for nuclear weapons. This is how many nations currently in possession of nuclear weapons began the process. And it is all too possible for a non-state terrorism organization to create a small, low-tech, dirty bomb that could contaminate a city. Another reason to shut down nuclear reactors is to avoid harm to people and other living beings. Fukushima is our greatest warning. 7.5 years after the tsunami and meltdown, your people are suffering, especially the children and pregnant women. The Pacific Ocean becomes more contaminated with radioactive elements every day. I urge you to lead Japan in a campaign to shut down nuclear plants and replace them with renewable energy sources. I have been taking responsibility for such efforts in California for the past 47 years. I was a young mother in 1971 when our organization launched the effort to stop nuclear power in our state. Now I'm a grandmother of 7, and the last remaining nuclear plant, Diablo Canyon, will shut down in 2025. California already has abundant renewable energy at lower cost than nuclear energy. Prime Minister Abe, meet your responsibilities. Stop nuclear weapons and nuclear reactors in your country. In your lifetime, do it for your people. Do it for the planet.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yoko-san. ありがとう。The commemoration of Hiroshima atomic bomb, August 6th, the group called Go West, Come West. Those group members are consisted with Fukushima and Tokyo evacuees and then supporters. They went to Hiroshima and then spread the leaflet of today's condition of Fukushima, and then how Japan is not responsible and Japan is hiding truth. Those leaflets they distributed, and then one evacuee, not only one evacuee, I saw one evacuee talking on the YouTube. She explained her situation. Anyway, one of them, almost the end of those events, one of them was arrested by Japanese police. She didn't do anything wrong. So this is clearly harassment. It is clearly for the suppression of the activists, nuclear activists who want to disclose the truth of the things. We really condemn this arrest. She was already released, but it's not free yet because she might be charged. We don't know yet. We gave them for support and then asked them to write for the message for today's rally. And so one of the member, Shimosawa Yoko-san, ありがとうございました。Wrote some message, so I like to read this. But I really want to say, we are encouraged by the people who is working hard and then protesting hard in Japan. But those Japanese people also said that the monthly rally event, we also encourage them to continue. And then this is not the time to give up anything, because things are very dark and then towards militarism. And the Abe is not listening to any majority voice. That's why we have to really stand. And then they knew that they are the strong people. They don't want to give up yet. Okay, so a message from the Go West, Come West, Shimosawa Yoko-san's message. Toshiko-san, Watanabe, will read. Hello. This is an appeal from Japanese nuclear evacuees and supporters to San Francisco September 11 action team. This was written by Yoko Shimosawa, representing the Go West and Come West Japan. Hello, No Nukes Action Committee and friends in San Francisco. My name is Yoko Shimosawa, a member of the Go West, Come West Japan, an organization of evacuees from the Fukushima nuclear disaster and their supporters. Thank you so much for helping us by protesting about the Hiroshima police's unlawful arrest of one of our members. I will never forget your kindness and cooperation. I'm honored to send greetings of solidarity to all of you now protesting the Fukushima nuclear disaster at the San Francisco Japanese Consulate. On August 6th, near the ground zero in Hiroshima, we conveyed to visitors and citizens there our messages
about the other side of the nuclear catastrophe. That is about things which have been covered up through history and which Japan is now making every effort to continue to cover up. What is the outcome of this cover-up? Damage to the health of your loving children, loss of life. We, as evacuees from the nuclear power plant disaster, know the facts. We, as such, wanted to convey the true meaning of the nuclear power disaster and what is happening now. We gave speeches and read appeals aloud and distributed leaflets and displayed a map of Japan showing the extent of radioactive contamination. At Hiroshima, we were met with earnest and serious gazes. There followed conversations, fraternal greetings, and warm handshakes. Then, rounds of heartfelt applause. The evacuees shouting themselves hoarse with tears. Until then, we had gotten used to a kind of indifference or disregard from those around us. But Hiroshima was different. We felt strong impressions, a ray of hope. Hope for humankind. If indifference or disregard had prevailed there too, it would have suited those in power. The occasion of Hiroshima on August 6th helped our appeal draw attention, interest, limited though it was, and an unwelcome surprise for them. They have wanted to prevent the public from knowing anything about radiation exposure. They cannot and will not face the reality about the nuclear disaster or radioactivity. A man arrived to disrupt the event. Soon the police were breaking into the site to bring an abrupt end to this heartwarming impromptu gathering. It was not this intruder that the police arrested. Instead, they took Ms. A member of our organization, on the side of the victimized. Why? She, a citizen who did nothing illegal and was falsely accused of breaking a camera, treated as a criminal, suddenly dragged into a police car and put in jail for more than 10 days. That is what happened and is happening now in Japan, where we live. As an evacuee, I stood on the site to tell as many people as possible about the risk of radiation exposure that my doctor suspects damaged my children's health, which was the reason I evacuated from Tokyo. This arrest felt like a threat to stop us speaking. It felt like blackmail. If you do not hush up, you will be similarly punished. The fact is that the Fukushima nuclear disaster is one of the worst catastrophic nuclear events in history. Such radiation is equivalent to violence. By neglecting to protect people against the disaster-induced irradiation, especially internal irradiation, They force people into terrible sufferings, mostly avoidable with protective measures. None of us can escape from the violent force of radiation exposure, from the radioactivity that the Fukushima nuclear disaster released into the environment. It threatens the lives and health of everyone and all of our future generations. I am certain that we will have no future if we do not fight back now against the violent force of not only the irradiation but also the oppressive tactics of the government. But in such a repressive atmosphere prevailing in Japan, who are freely and openly talking about the violence and its consequences, the Go West is an organization of nuclear evacuees and their supporters, aiming to stand on the side of the weak. Regrettably, only a few groups in Japan, besides the Go West, are warning of the health damage in specific and concrete terms. Only a few groups beside the Go West are informing people living in eastern Japan that they are under serious risk and a massive evacuation is necessary as the means to protect themselves from the risks of radiation exposure. For me, the organization is only my hope, I think. I am myself an all too powerless mother evacuee. Please do not let them take away my way of expressing myself, freedom of expression, and freedom of speech. Please protect us. I'm convinced that we are fighting for our future. This is my wish from deep in my heart. Please lend your support to protect our children and their future generations. As human beings, let's join hands. Anyway, today I noticed the great photo books which was taken one day after the earthquake, and I want you to share this photograph book.
Thank you. And we have to, what a shame of the Abe government. They arrest a woman evacuee, a mother. How dare them? Who is this Abe government that is so threatened by an evacuee, a mother, that they have to arrest her and put her in jail for 10 days? What kind of government is this Abe government? Is that they're terrified of a woman, an evacuee woman who's telling the truth to the Japanese people about the danger of radiation, that they have to arrest her and put her in jail for 10 days. This is a crime. This is a crime against the evacuees. This is a crime against the people of Japan. This Abe government is criminal for what they're doing, putting somebody in jail for speaking out against the dangers of nuclear radiation. This is why we're out here today, and we demand that this Abe government drop the charges against our sister in Japan. We demand that they stop continuing to restart the nuclear power plants. We demand that they stop these secrecy agreements and conspiracy laws which are aimed at silencing people. They want to shut down all voices. That's what this is about. But they're not going to quiet down. And as this sister has said, she is going to continue to speak out. People are not going to be silent. And we're happy to be here today to support her. because this is an international issue. It's not just an issue for the people of Japan and the evacuees, it's an issue for all people. So we're happy to be here, and we're demanding that this Abe government withdraw those criminal charges. They should be charged for conspiring to arrest an evacuee woman who's telling the truth. That's where the real criminal charges should be charged. And this is what we're demanding. The real criminals are not our sister from this group, Go West. The real criminals are the Japanese government who are covering up the radiation, who are covering up the crimes of TEPCO, and continue to do that. So we're happy to have her support, and we're happy to have her voice here at our rally on September the 11th, 2018. And we will be back next month, Prime Minister Abe, to let people know in the United States and around the world that there is support for the evacuees in Japan. Shizu. Oh, we want to say something?
I'd like to add a few comments regarding this incident, that this clearly showed that the government and the right-wingers and whoever will plan ahead to do this attack on and harass on these Fukushima evacuees. They are, the many organizations did the demonstration, the marches, and the meetings. But this Fukushima evacuees, when they are just passing the flyers, talking about the real situation, what's going on in the Fukushima, and this is what the government is afraid that the people in Japan is find out more. Now they try to forget about it, but as long as those people are speaking up, they cannot go away, and the situation is not clearly go. It's not still there and go. Never. I mean, it's not go away. And when they speak out, government is so afraid. That's why they plan ahead to send somebody. The situation is actually they already pass flyers talking about the situation, and they are packing up the stuff ready to leave, and they noticed that the one guy was nearby videotaping the action, and they didn't pay attention much. I mean, the people group didn't pay attention much about this guy, but eventually, purposely or accidentally, whatever, they themselves break their camera, and claiming that police were right there, claiming that they attacked and broke this guy's camera. So arrested immediately this one woman and put him in jail for over 10 days. What kind of, without no charge, put her in the jail for over 10 days. What kind of, government, what kind of police situation without charge put anybody in the jail for over 10 days. This is clearly show that government, TEPCO, right-wingers are so afraid that this issue is not go away. They wanted everybody, Japanese citizens, to forget about it. But as long as people are speaking up, they cannot forget about it, and they cannot put it away. So I strongly encourage that the Japanese people continue to speak up, and we here in San Francisco is also every month speaking up came to front of the Japanese consulate building, and until they shut down all the nuclear power plants in Japan. So we support any struggle the people are doing in Japan.
Thank you.
下沢陽子さん、本当に心の底からのあなたの叫び、願い、そういうものが伝わってきました。素晴らしいメッセージありがとうございます。それからGo West, Come West のメンバーの皆さん、本当にYouTube 見ましたが、広島でのイベントご苦労様でした。 やはり皆さんのような人たちがいるからいろいろなリーフレットを配って今までいろいろ知らなかった人たちもいろんな正しいこと真実を知ることができるわけです。本当に本当にご苦労様です。今回も私たちのこのデモをサポートしてくださってメッセージを送ってくださいました。私たちも Go West Come West さんの皆さん支援したいと思います。これからもよろしく。Anybody want to speak out? No?
I want to encourage everybody to go to the Moscone Center this week. It's a climate conference.
There's a climate conference here, an international climate conference in San Francisco with governments from around the world. And one of the arguments of the nuclear industry is that this is a climate good for climate, that nuclear power plants are going to make the climate better because they don't generate bad gases. But do you want nuclear radiation? I mean, in other words, this is not clean. Nuclear power is not a clean energy source. So it generates carbon and it also radiates people, and it's contaminating the oceans. The epidemic of cancer around nuclear power plants, this is not climate safe and it's not human safe. So we're urging people to go to the rallies that are happening here and demanding solar, full energy efficient, and Japan has a large amount of sun. In fact, right now it's burning up in Japan because of the humidity and the heat. They could have solar power to run Japan. They don't need nuclear power. They don't need oil in Japan. Yet the government and the industry refuse to go solar. They refuse to use full resources. Why not use the sun to generate power? It seems very rational that you would use the sun to generate your power when you have the technology to do that. Yet this government is refusing to do it. It's the same as the U.S. government. They want no more nuclear plants. So we here, No Nukes Action, are saying go solar and also get your hands off the people of Japan who are protesting the use of nuclear power and warning about the danger of radiation. And we warn the Abe government that we want the charges dropped against our sister from Go West. We want the government to make an apology for her arrest. It's a complete frame-up. And this Abe government is responsible for this. People need to know what is going on in Japan, that the evacuees are being arrested for warning about the dangers of radiation. What a crazy world. What a crazy world that we're in. That when you warn about the dangers of radiation, you're arrested and put in jail for 10 days. I think the people of the United States, the people of the world, need to know about our sister who's been arrested, because it shows the real criminality of the government of Japan. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we are here. The next October 11th. Let's get together again. We cannot give up now. We have to keep on protesting the policy of the Japanese and the US government about the nuclear weapons, nuclear power plant. Shut down all the nukes! Shut down all the nukes! Shut down all the nukes!
Shut down all the nukes!
Shut down all the nukes! Fukushima, never again!
Fukushima, never again!